Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Spiritworld, Helldorado, out March 21st on Century Media Records. The album has 10 tracks, 30 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio record. They are an American crossover thrash metal band. Now, from a design standpoint, this album puts together a very classic format. It's an album that has a side A and a side B. Side A of this record starts off really strong, really driven, and then it finishes off with Prayer Lips, a ballad, a country ballad that allows you to see a more melancholic end to that very aggressive and very intense experience. Then side B starts off as aggressive, as intense as side A, and it finishes off in the same mood with more of a country ballad and a nihilism. So this is an album that has this clear defined design, but when you have this clear defined design, you also allow for the experience to feel very balanced, and both parts are definitely equal to one another. Once you get into the sound, you're obviously going to get a crossover thrash metal record with a lot of different influences from the band coming to the surface. This is a great album from that standpoint because you could totally tell who their heroes were at some point in time. You listen to this album, you're going to get some Slayer references, you're going to get some Testament references, you're going to get some Sepultura references, and you're also going to get perhaps some Garth Brooks references because there are some songs that have more of a country twang, a country vibe. I mentioned two of them already, Nihilism and Prayer Lips. So these songs definitely take the album in a different direction, but every classic thrash metal record, even crossover thrash metal record, always end up having a ballad here and there. So having ballads on a record like this doesn't distort the sound of the album. It just creates a more classic approach to how to build an overall record, and still falls in line with the DNA of the band. So nothing about the sound on this album feels out of place. It's an album that has great production. You're able to really feel and hear all the different elements. You can go as far as to what the bass brings to the picture, what the drum impact is, and then obviously the guitars being one of the common and most important pillars of the overall soundscape. And those guitars, let me start off by that. Those guitars are definitely the focus of this album through and through. Not just from a riff standpoint, not just from a melody standpoint, not just because of the chugging that they have, but also because of the solos. This record has great guitar solos throughout. You can close your eyes, pick a song. I'm almost sure you're going to find a great guitar solo that brings that song into a different level, that brings that song up in terms of the quality that it has, and it makes the songs feel more complete. And I feel like this is an important element because we're talking about 10 tracks, 30 minutes, some songs being under the 3-minute mark. It's a very short record, but it's short, it's aggressive, it's to the point. Now, adding these solos with great quality to these songs don't necessarily extend the songs, but it definitely gives you a sense of the tracks being a little bit longer or giving a little bit more back to the listener. So this is a great sounding album, and it's a great sounding album as far as the guitars are concerned, being that main cornerstone of the entire sonic landscape of the record. But I also enjoyed the bass. The bass on this album pops quite a bit, and I think it's an important element because it adds a groove to some of the songs. It adds a little bit of darkness, and it definitely makes the overall bottom end of the soundscape of the record feel more powerful, feel more together. It adds value to what the drums are doing, and the drums are not necessarily stationary throughout. So having the bass help give the drum sound a little bit more emphasis at the bottom end definitely helps the record all around. And it also allows the drums to splash the cymbals a little bit more up front, thinning out the sound at any given time, making the overall record and the overall soundscape a lot more textured and not one-dimensional or one-directional. Now, once you get into the vocals, one of my favorite elements about the vocals is that the approach changes ever so slightly depending the mood of the song, depending on the style of the song. There's not drastic changes per se, but there are changes as far as the vocal performance is concerned. And there are changes within the songs themselves, depending if the track has a little bit more of a driven verses or if it has a little bit more of a paused, methodic chorus. The vocals adapt really well to these changes. But the part that I enjoyed the most about the overall vocal performance was the backing vocals, because it added this great live energy. Anytime you can record a studio album and bring the energy that the band has live into the studio, you're winning. It just makes the record sound better. It just makes the songs more powerful, more meaningful, and then it allows the band to then translate those songs into the live experience extremely easy. So the way the vocals come across and those backing vocals that you're going to find throughout the record definitely bring a live atmosphere into the studio as far as Spiritworld is concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, another outstanding record by this band. These guys really put out incredible albums. They have a DNA. You can go as far as to say they have a shtick. They stick with it, and they create really incredible sounding albums that have so much power, so much aggression, so much intensity, bringing in elements of thrash, elements of hardcore, getting the most out of both of them, and then infusing some country in between. This record is just all of that. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with No Vacancy in Heaven. This song starts off with a very Slayer-esque riff. And it's not the only Slayer-esque moment of the track, but the moment you listen to the opening of this song, you're gonna think about Slayer. I doubt that your mind will go anywhere else. It's just a very Slayer-esque riff that opens up the track. It's a very super driven song. It has a killer riff all around, and then it has a great drum and bass sound that complements that experience. This is one of those tracks that has the backing vocals, and that not only adds that live experience to the song, it brings a more well-defined hardcore vibe to the track as well. It allows itself to be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more directional in terms of the purpose that the track has, and I love how you get all of that in the verses. The verses are super driven. Then once you get to the chorus, the song slows down or breaks down a little bit more, but that allows the verses to feel even more driven, even more aggressive, even more intense. And then this track encapsulates that Slayer-esque vibe that it had at the beginning by having a very Slayer-esque solo as well. It's an absolute badass of a song. Then you have Waiting on the Reaper. I love this song. This one and No Vacancy in Heaven, by far my two favorite songs on the entire record, above the first couple of singles that came out. This one has one of the best, if not the best, chorus on the entire album. It's a heavy and chunky song with a lot of bass, with a lot of drums, creating a huge presence at the bottom end of the sound, and this allows the guitars to feel more free. It gives them more room to breathe. It gives them a little bit more bandwidth, and the bass on this track is really important to create the overall vibe that the song has. The bass really determines the vibe of the song more so than any other element. It has that kind of impact on the track. But it's one of those tracks, like I mentioned before, that has that live feel to it. When you think about a circle pit in a live show, this is the circle pit in a song format. It'll be impossible for people to just stand around. This song gets the most out of the listener. It's a great track, tons of intensity, tons of aggression. Last but definitely not least, Stigmata Scars. This track uses the backing vocals really well. The backing vocals help add intensity and aggression to a song that perhaps musically doesn't feel as intense and as aggressive. And it just has those elements there, but they're not as well defined as in the two previous songs. Because this track has some slower pockets. It's a track that's not linear in what it offers. It breaks. Those more methodic, slower pockets allow you to feel differently towards the rest of the song, but having those backing vocals allows the song overall to be more dynamic, and like I said, it also adds a little bit more aggression and intensity to the track. It allows you to see a little bit better how heavy the song actually is outside of those moments where the track dips down and it becomes a little bit more methodic in its movement. This is it, Spiritworld with Helldorado, out March 21st on Century Media Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.